Hey, what's up? Welcome back to The Kids Are in Bed,
Yes.
episode 8, I think, and I already got it.
I already got what?
The name of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
You said it's going to take a long time for me to figure
Well, I think 8 episodes is a long time to get the name of your podcast.
That's true, especially since we came up with the graphic before we even started the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our Ari, interestingly, the little one, so we had to remove the crib from his room because he decided he was going to just climb out of it. And now he refuses to sleep on his bed. He
Yes.
sleeps next to it.
Yes, we just kind of make like a blanket pallet on the
a
floor,
pallet.
and that's where he sleeps. I put him back on his bed so many times in the night, and then I'm like, okay, just sleep on the floor. It is what it is. You do you, boo.
It is funny though because he has a nice bed and he's like, nah, I'm just gonna sleep on the floor.
We're waiting to buy him like a big person, like like a toddler bed or like a child's bed. But I'm like, he sleeps on the floor. He won't even stay on the bed. So getting him one that's like 2-3 feet off the ground, I was like, you're just gonna fall on your head. So we're kind of waiting for him to just stay on the bed. But
He is
no
a bit
luck
of,
so far.
He's a bit of a daredevil. Like he just likes to headfirst dive off of things and jump off of
Yeah.
things, and that's a little unnerving.
Yeah, his favorite thing right now is just to like kamikaze off the ottoman, like and just like step off it. And I was like, okay,
Yeah, I feel like a broken leg is in our future.
yeah, for sure.
I think he's gonna always be a bit of a daredevil.
Well, he is your son.
True, I'm not much of a I'm pretty confident that I can accomplish the things that I like try to do. Like I don't do things just inherently dangerous for fun.
Yeah,
But I think our kid's definitely going to.
which is good because the other one is the exact opposite.
Yeah,
The 17-year-old.
it's odd that we just said that. I was talking to Pastor Eddie and John this morning at church, and they were talking about daredevils for some reason, and Pastor Eddie started quoting verses in the Bible about not tempting death and not tempting fate, and I was like, so does that mean that is an unholy profession, like daredevil?
Yeah.
Since something could just go wrong at any
Yeah.
moment. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, y'all do have a lot of interesting conversations.
It's very interesting. I think it's good. I've actually had lots of interesting conversations today with different people podcasting and stuff, and I think it's good to have depth of conversation. So like having people in your life that you can just have weird, like openly have those kind of odd, thought-provoking conversations, even if they aren't fruitful in some way. Because I think so much of our life is spent like trying to solve problems and like create answers to problems, and then you get the opportunity to just to have a conversation of like, it's as silly as is Daredevil an unholy profession, but
Yeah.
like if you don't have a group of people that you trust and that you can have these weird conversations with that they'll take like seriously for the moment, like then what is life like? It's just if it's not that, then you're just solving problems, answering questions 24/7.
Yeah, it can be mentally
Draining.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's fun to have people in your life that you can do that. You know, when we go play disc golf, I have my buddy Michael, who I play a lot of disc golf with, and we will have conversations about disc golf that are like, they mean nothing. Like, it's like guys sitting around watching sports and they can like quote all the sports things. We can like go through disc, like pull disc out of our bag and like, oh yeah, that's like a force from 2021 and it does this and it does that. And like, we won't.
Speaking Greek, boo.
I know, but we won't talk about anything else for like 2 hours than disc golf and like what we're doing. And I just think it's interesting that I think it's fun. I think it's good for people to have relationships in their life where they can be that, where there's not a transaction to it. He's going to beat me every time we go.
Yeah.
Like we're not competing against each other. We're just playing. I'm having fun. He's having fun, but we do get to like just kind of like we're not really thinking about anything, not really doing it, even though disc golf is his job, which is a whole nother thing. But
Yeah.
it is just kind of fun. And I think those are fun conversations. And these are those types of conversations too, a lot of times. And so these are the conversations we have when the kids go to bed,
Yes.
the things that we think through and the things that we're talking about in our life. And I hope that you will like and subscribe here and leave us a comment as we go through the episode tonight, because we do value your feedback and hope you
Yeah.
enjoy and glean something from glean or gleam.
Oh, I'm really bad with vocabulary.
I think it's glean. I've been thinking. I actually had that one come
I
up.
think it's glean.
I think it's glean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had it come up earlier, and I was like, I wonder which one that is.
Well, I've got like into reading, so maybe glean will show in my book. That's where all my vocabulary comes from. Is just reading.
I don't think glean's going to come up in your teen fiction.
It might.
What did he glean a love interest? I'm
Maybe,
confused.
probably.
That's funny. So speaking of buying books, and things you're interested in, we're talking about just finances the other day on our way to get coffee, and kind of the things that we have dealt with. I don't necessarily want to talk strategy of finance
Well, good,
because
because I don't think we have a great one.
no, we
We have a one that works for us.
make money, save money, spend money.
Yeah.
It's how we do it.
Our philosophy is you can't take it with you.
But I know people struggle with like where and when they should spend money on things. And I know it harms relationships a lot of times.
Yeah.
And
I was just talking to one of my friends today who plans to get married within the next year, and she's young. And we did talk about finances, and I was like, you know what I found as like in our almost 9 years of marriage is, I was like, really the important thing is just to get on the same page.
I think that's good.
I was like, if you're both spenders, then the same page is we ain't gonna have a lot of money. We're not gonna have a lot of savings. When something goes horribly wrong, we're gonna be in big trouble. But that's the same page.
But you might need to get that one fixed.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not saying it's a great page and it doesn't have some flaws. I was like,
Yeah.
but it's the same page. I was like, where we found our like disagreements and arguments have come one from lack of communication, but also where we weren't on the same page, where one of us was trying to save like really hard and one of us was wanting to just spend it, and then so we would have disagreements because we were on a different page. We were like, no, I want to do this with the money. Well, I want to do this with the money.
Just an FYI, I'm always the one that's spending.
Yeah, Zach is always the spender, but I think it's also funny because I was just telling my friend, I was like, you know what? I was like, about a year ago, I got on the same page as Zach. I was like, you know what, baby? Let's just spend it. Let's just, we can always make more money. I was like,
That's my philosophy.
yeah. And I was like, and we do save, don't get me wrong. I was like, we do save some money. I was like, but we are very, I guess, what is the word, liberal? With
our money. Yeah, we are.
I was like, we like to buy things and buy our kids things and our families things and, our house and ourselves things. So I was like, well, let's just do it, babe. Let's just all go in. And it was funny because then you started saving money like, oh, now Montana's on this. And I was like, it's just amazing. I was like, well, I didn't say that. So there wasn't like a manipulation thing.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, let's get on the same page. But I think that as you grow more together and you are more open about money in those conversations and having them often, you will get on the same page. But that's what I recommended to my friend who wants to get married the next year is like, just talk about it beforehand and get on the same page. And until your money is joined, you don't really have a right to tell them what to do with it.
And there are like, if you are looking for like money strategies and how to prepare for your life, there are people who do that and they do it extremely well. Find one of them.
Yeah, find us.
That's not
like I said, our page may not work for you.
But we're not offering a strategy. We're talking about how
our life,
how we exist and how we cohabitate and co-finance our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think communication is a big key. Like when we make big purchases, we talk. We kind of created an unspoken rule for a couple of years where like anything over $100, we like ran by the other person.
Yeah, which I got that strategy from another couple, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. But, you just like to tell me everything you buy, whether it's $5 or it's $500. You just like to tell me, so I'm like, well, it kind of worked. It kind of didn't work.
But I mean, it gives an opportunity for the line of communication. Like, hey, we don't really have $500 right now.
Yeah.
Like, we should probably.
Oh, no,
not
I don't
spend
think
that.
either of us would drop $500 and be like, oh, yeah, and not tell the other person. Yeah, I don't think we've ever done that.
No, but, and I'm not. I think it's just, I would use that as a point of saying, like, even if it's $110, we would stop and we would have a conversation about, like, why are we spending $110 on X, Y, and Z? What I run into for me is being my hobbies are like a little, like, disc golf's an odd hobby because it's cheap, but it builds. So, like, I can buy $20 at a time, but over the course of like 2 months, it's $200.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in a disc golf tournament recently where they literally he had to pay to do the disc golf tournament, which is fine. They gave him 7 discs. And then the next day he went and bought like 3 more discs. I'm like, you just got 7.
What's hilarious?
Why do we need 10? Because we got 7.
What's really funny is I got 7 for entering. I won 4 more.
Yeah, I don't.
And then bought 3
And then bought 3. Yeah, so Zach's, like I said, Zach would never be the saver in our family.
I have it's not a philosophy, but like I don't feel the need. Like I save enough money that our family's protected.
Mm.
But I don't feel the need a lot of times to just sit on like large sums of money. Large, quote unquote. More than a little, not a lot. I say that like it's a lot. But like as long as my family's protected, I say go for it. And like I think it's fine. I don't know. We work hard. We do a lot and it's like, well, why if you're not going to spend the money? I don't know. That's just
Yeah.
a weird thing.
Yeah, and I was like, and it's so every couple that I talk to that's around our age and married or even like a little bit younger and a little bit older than us, it's like everybody's view on money is so different.
Yeah.
I was like, because I have friends I went to high school with and we went out to dinner a couple years ago and they have like tens of thousands of dollars of debt. And I was like, we're 25 years old. Where did you even get $10,000 of debt? I was like, I couldn't even imagine. And, it's just because their view on like credit and pay later was different than what I was. We're not really credit people.
We don't use credit a lot.
I was like, we do, but it's very low, like under $1,000. Yeah, I was like, and we always paid off within a few months. I was like, but I was just like, oh my gosh, and like we have friends who are our age who filed bankruptcy, and I'm like, that's just so crazy that in your 20s you could do that. But then we also have friends who want to have like tens of thousands of dollars in their savings, and I'm like, well, how do you do that and like and live? I don't know.
You probably don't go get coffee every Saturday.
and buying clothes and shoes, and I'm like, all right. So I mean, I think it's just. I mean, like no one. What I found, like going through, because we went to high school, we went to college, we got careers after college. No one like sits you down and it's like, here's what you do with your finances. Like, you either, I guess, do what your parents do or see what your parents do and do the exact opposite.
There's no chance I'm doing what my mother does.
Yeah, I was like, but it's just interesting when you look at like all the couples our age, all the it's totally a different page that we're all on.
Well, I mean, the Bible lays out like you should be good stewards of the things that God has given you, and so like to say that I will not co-sign like $10,000 in debt, like you screwed up, and
like for sure
you're not being the best steward. Like you didn't have that money.
Yeah,
you spent money you don't have. When we say we use credit cards, we use them like I like getting cash back. I like to pay it off at the end of the month. Like it's like I get free cups of coffee essentially.
We get things like, oh, my next paycheck's coming and I need like $100 extra from that paycheck to pay this. I'm gonna go ahead and buy it now and then use it when I get paid. I was
it's like I really want this thing now, but I really don't need to spend the money until next month.
But which again is not
great.
saying not saying that you should do that either.
Not great, but it works out for us. But yeah, and so I think that's the key is if you go back to like how should you handle your money? I think that being the best steward that you can be, if you're using credit all the time, it's not money you have. Like it's just you're living outside of the means that you have. And the unpopular answer is if you want more, work more.
Yeah.
Like there's not a nice way. I do always say that like I can make more. Like I've never been necessarily concerned that we're gonna like run out. I mean, that could bite us in the butt at some point because I know the economy's tight. And I know that money doesn't go as far and things like that, and that's a big deal too. Especially as we are in this kind of part of the cycle of the economy, and it is tough and stuff just costs more. Like I mean, even little things you don't really think about, like our insurance on our house just goes up like every year, and everybody's does, and things that you don't pay attention to a lot of times. Like I don't think people recognize in cost of things like insurance. I'm very attuned to it because that's what I do for a living. And so I see the costs going up for everybody. But like, things that you don't think about is if you look at your policy, you may have something called like a wind hail deductible where if you get hit by a hailstorm and your roof gets destroyed, you're buying that roof. They are not buying that roof. And there's things like that. And it's like, that's where having savings is important.
Yeah.
And having money in the bank is important. And I think if you want like big ticket items, like my brother really wanted a truck and he got a truck. And he saved for it and he did all the things to where he could get one. And that's super cool. And that's what you should do. But yeah, I just don't see the need.
Well, I think also, like it just depends on where you want to spend your money. Like we don't vacation.
Yeah.
Like really ever. We're about to go on a cruise for the first time in 9 years.
It's the first thing I would call like a vacation.
Yeah, I was like, now
nearly since our
we've
honeymoon.
we've flown and gone to like races. We've gone to Dallas a few times. I was like, but a full on like luxury vacation. I was like, we haven't been on since our honeymoon, and the only reason that we're going on it is because we have a 17-year-old who's graduating high school, and I was like, oh. I was like, you're not supposed to have this kind of money, until later in your 40s. But, so we don't spend our money on travel. We don't spend our money on vacations. We spend, our money on our family and our house and the things that the little things that we want and the things that we want day to day. So I think it all just depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, it was funny when one time my son came to me. He's like, all these kids at school got these nice cars and they're doing all these things. I sat him down. I was like, hey, son. I have like 4-year-old kid money. Like I'm not supposed to have I don't have 17-year-old kid money. No. Like you're not going to get things that normal 17-year-olds might get because.
Or if you do, you go to grandma and grandpa who are.
who might have 17-year-old kid money. But yeah, for us, it's like, I don't have that, dude. And so you're just going to have to be cool. And to his credit.
Yeah. He doesn't have a real.
Hassan's a hard worker.
Yes.
And I think he used to negatively, and this is something as a parent, like how to instill values around money without worshiping money. I think it's tough, especially because kids that I am around because of Hassan and church and stuff, like they really want nice things, like super nice things. Yeah. Like things, when I was a kid, I wanted like cool sneakers for sports and I wanted like good cleats and stuff. And they're like, I want designer everything. I'm like, I don't have designer everything. Yeah. Like you get over it. Like I don't understand. I've seen some kids walk in with like $1,000 shoes on. I'm like, golly.
Yeah, no.
It's like it's an insane thing, and that's like all those kids. Like,
we were just talking about this today because there was somebody on Facebook. I don't know what her daughter did. But like the uniform that she had to wear was like $800, and I was like, $800 for a uniform? I was like, wow, like I couldn't even imagine. I think her daughter's like 9 or something. I was like, I couldn't even imagine. I was just like, to be honest, where I'm at in my life, I was like, they're not wearing a more expensive outfit than I am. I don't know if that's wrong or right, but
I don't think if I pulled the most expensive everything I had in my closet out right now and put it on, I don't think it would be.
Well, there's those reels. I don't know if you've seen them. It's like, hey, honey, go put your most expensive outfit on and let's go out to dinner. And they go put like their ski stuff on, or like their kids go put like their softball stuff on, their hockey stuff on, and I'm like, that's legit. Like that is the most expensive. Like sports are expensive.
I've seen reels around hockey season because goalie gear is like crazy expensive. I never played, but there's just a lot of it, and it's really expensive. And it's like all the parents are like, no, you want to be a forward, and like point them to like these like cheap helmets and like these skates and everything that's way cheaper, and then there's like, no, I'm a goalie, and like goes over here and it's like, I want your cheapest equipment, and it's like 20 years old and $10,000 or something. No. But I think that's funny. I don't think I could make an $800 outfit if I put the nicest thing I had on top to bottom. I mean,
no,
even including
I think if
sneakers.
I stacked like 40 outfits on, it'd probably equal like $800.
I know. I look around at like, because I'm very interested in fashion and design, so I follow all of the like the high-end designers because they make cool stuff, and I look at it and I'm like, that would be really cool, and then I look at the price tag and I'm like, how much money would I have to make to justify like a $2,000 jacket? Like I just can't in my mind fathom that being a thing.
It would be a no.
Well, I know, but like right now for sure. But I'm saying like, what is the break point where you're like, yeah, $2,000 jacket makes sense?
I don't know.
I can't find.
I don't think we'll ever have that kind of money. No. So I think it's cool. We don't have.
Yeah, but I just think I'm like, man, that's crazy.
I just told somebody the other day because I was like, it's crazy actually how much money comes up in your like friend group. How often like the conversations come up just about finance, about buying things, about saving and all. I don't know. I guess maybe just what we're surrounded by.
Young marriages.
I guess people like maybe because we haven't figured it out. Like maybe like people our parents' age don't talk about money that much anymore. Maybe they figured it out.
Well, we're in a weird like so our age group is our parents bought property. Our parents were financially stable. Our parents like owned things, started things, they made their own money.
Yeah.
Our generation did not. Like,
And we live with mommy and daddy.
yeah, they live on mommy and
Well,
daddy.
we didn't, but
Yeah,
our generation,
generation
millennials,
is they rent stuff, they don't buy anything, they don't
credit.
their jobs, or they want to be fulfilled like mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They don't
Yeah.
want to be fulfilled like career wise. They don't care about
Yeah.
success in the same way. And then the generation behind us is almost reverting back to like our parents, and they're trying to find ways to start things, to build things, to buy property. And what's happening is this really interesting like gap. And so like there's families where the older siblings are renting from their younger
yeah.
siblings because they are thinking smarter. I always wanted to own a home. Like it wasn't even like we rented an apartment for a little while, and I enjoyed like
Well, we bought a house when we first got married
Right.
at 20 and 21, and then
we decided
we
to rent
rented,
one.
and then we bought another house.
But it was like I enjoyed renting. I mean, it was nice to like not have to fix anything and to like they could just like you just called them and they're like, hey, this is not working, come get it. That was nice, but I always wanted to own a home. I always wanted to own property and it to be somewhere our family was raised and could, grow. And I just can't really get in, but I think that's why we see it a lot now. And then you couple that dynamic with the fact that it's just really hard to buy anything right now and that everything is expensive. And it's not that we've seen, they can say whatever they want, but if you go to the grocery store, a grocery bill that was $150 is $200 now.
Yeah.
Like the incremental increase on everything.
Yeah, I mean, we can fill up
hugely.
like 5 bags of groceries and it's already over $100. I'm like, what did we even buy?
Yeah.
I was like, I remember like less than 2 years ago when we could buy like 10 bags for that same amount of money. And I was like, it was not that long ago that we could do that.
5 years ago was in the middle of competing and racing and stuff. And like our grocery bill was gnarly, we thought, because
you ate a lot.
the volume of food and the quality of food.
Yeah.
Because it was like very specifically certain things. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's why you hear more conversations about it, the uneasiness around it and earning it. And like there's industries that just are catching up and they're catching up very slowly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, like I've had like 3 conversations in the last 7 days around people our age and a little bit younger about money and about finances. And one of the conversations I had, I was talking to our friend and I was like, you know what? I just always go back to, that part in the Bible. It's like, it's really hard to get into heaven rich. And I'm like, that's why God did not give Zach and I a lot of money. I was like, it was just going to be harder for us. So I was like, so we just kind of live right here.
Yeah.
And a little bit in the middle.
It's funny you say that though, because like you're around a lot of people that are more our age than I am. I'm around a lot of people who are, most people I spend my days with are like 60, late 50s, 60s. And most of them are pretty successful. And so like their idea of money is not the same. And so our conversations, we don't really have conversations about money because they just all assume.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think like
has
anybody my parents' age, like they just like in conversation talk about money. I'm like, so it must just be like.
I think it's a young person thing.
Yeah.
Something that's top of mind. And you're around a lot of people who are figuring their life out. You're around a lot of people at work who
and I know that money used to be like taboo. Like you don't talk about religion, politics, or money. And I just haven't found that. I don't know if it's just, like I said, the people that are in our circle. I was like, but I don't find it that taboo to talk about it. I was like, I'm not, like, again, just like we said on this podcast, I'm not saying that what we do is what everyone should do. I'm not saying that what we should do is the best practice.
I would actually recommend you not do what we do most of the time.
No, because, there probably are times that if something goes wrong, I was like, it might hurt for a little bit. You might have to budget, and, scrap for a little bit. I was like, but I don't know. I was like, it doesn't feel as taboo as a topic as I feel like it was with our parents' generation.
Yeah, and I think it was just, I don't think anybody's got a lot of money right now. So everybody who's talking is like, how might I get a little bit? It's like, but no, our parents' generation, that was weird. And when I talk to people who are in careers and who are like moving and doing, we don't talk about money. We just like, everybody just kind of assumes everybody has a certain amount, if that makes sense. Like, I don't go to lunch with people and like worry about who's going to pay. It's just somebody's going to pay. Like, everybody has a somewhat of an idea of like like I have a boss, and if we go to a certain level of restaurant,
He's paying.
he's paying.
You have passed the Zach level of
Yeah,
restaurants.
Yeah. If we go get some Chipotle, I might pay for lunch.
Gosh, even Chipotle is crazy.
It is, but it's not compared to what some people have for lunch.
True.
But yeah, I just think that's an interesting.
But it's also, it's also interesting trying to, because like I said, we haven't figured out the full grand scheme of money. And, we've only been, sharing money for 9 years and really paying like big adult bills for 9 years.
And we don't really share money. That's a weird thing about our relationship.
Well, we do share money.
We
just
share
don't
the
have a shared account.
No, we really don't share money. We share the expenses.
Yes.
We have an income that we disperse to the expenses that are allotted to us.
Yes.
And then if we if we buy a car, we discuss it together, and that's like something we do together.
Because I couldn't buy.
Or like I was looking at a phone today, and that was something that we came back together, and I didn't just go, yeah, do it. Like I could have just done that.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's probably worth us just like, let's chat about it first.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying is interesting because now we have a son who's 17, going to graduate, and we have to start talking. I mean, we've always talked about money ever since he had a job when he was 15. And I think that even we just had a conversation, like I said, I think money just comes up all the time. And the other day, I was like, well, what are you going to do if like you run out of money? Because like I said, he will just keep swiping that card and swiping that card. And I'm like, Hassan, when your card hits 0, you're going to swipe and it's not going to work. And then what are you going to do? And he's like, all right, just keep swiping till literally there's nothing left. And I was like, son, like you have to quit swiping if there's nothing coming back in it to refill it, and then he would just drop like, well, I guess like, and I was like, what are you going to do? Because he pays his car insurance, but it's in our name. So we pay the car insurance and he pays us back. And instead of like going straight to like the insurance company. And I was like, what are you going to do if like you go to college and you just blow all your money and then your bills due? He's like, well, I guess I just won't pay it. And I'm like, son, you can't just not do that. You can't just not pay your bills. I'm like, they will come for you. I was like, they will take your card. It'll ruin, not just, like I said, it will ruin our credit. Like, I was like,
well, no, because we're just going to pay it.
Well, yes, yeah, we're just going to pay it. But I was like, in real life, it's not, I was like, that ruins your credit. You can't say, oh, just won't pay it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm like, son, all this conversation we've had about money and this is still kind of he's like, and finally he was like, you know what? I'm just not good with money. And I was like, son, you're 17. I would not expect you to be good with money. That's why we handle 80% of your finances. And stuff.
And we try to teach you the principles. Yeah, credit's a weird one too. Like having a credit score and those things, because people just don't recognize that. Like, I mean, in our world today, you essentially can't do any big purchases without it.
I'm about to go. Yeah, I think the last time that, we bought a car in 2021, but we always co-sign on all of our cars. But I think up until I bought that car in 2021, I could not get a car.
Mm-hmm.
At least not a new car that I wanted by myself. Like you always had to co-sign. And like, I think one dealership actually told me like, hey, with what you make, a bank's never going to give you a car. And I was like, oh, okay. So like it's because I didn't have any credit. Like I didn't get a credit card until we were married.
Well, I think also like debt to equity ratio, this is where someone smarter than us should be handling this part of the conversation. But like you were signed to
smarter. Yeah, I don't know anything.
But you were like signed to the house, and so your equity, you only made X amount of dollars, but you're technically on paper, your expenses, even though I paid it, your expenses were
I didn't look good on paper.
You were terrible on paper.
I might look better now on paper, but then I did not.
Yeah.
At 24, 25 years old, I did not look good on paper.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think parents should, and it's something that we do talk to Hassan about, like his current situation, his current bank account, but also like what the consequences are for failing to maintain and failing to recoup and to refill that account too.
Yeah, and he's quote unquote, I actually think he's been a little bit blessed because he has lost jobs, whether it was because he had to quit for certain life reasons or he was fired because, he recently got fired from nothing. Like I said, he's a great worker. He's a hard worker. He's a very polite kid. I was like, but like his basketball schedule, they just got sick of him playing basketball and then just fired him. Like, well, that's a teenager. Like he plays basketball. He can't come to work when he has a game. A teenager
who told you that he was going to do
I was like, that was just a bad manager or whatever. But he's had to quit jobs. He's had to like stretch his income for a little bit. He's even been fired. Like, and it was a hard lesson for him to learn. And he kept swiping that card after he was fired. And he was applying and he was interviewing, but nobody had said yes yet. And I was like, son, you have to quit swiping the card because you have nothing to refill it. And he's like, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. would continue to go to tropical smoothie. I was like, not even like the dollar menu at McDonald's. He'd go to tropical smoothie. I was like, are you out of your mind? And so finally I had to be like, Hassan, if you swipe it again before you have a job, I'm going to cut it in half. And he was like, oh, yes, ma'am. Like, I was like, why do I have to go like extreme for you to get it? Like, should you not just see the zeros counting down? But no, you didn't get it.
I remember being in college and had blown all of our money on. Oh, I remember a couple of things. My mom, hard lessons.
I'm about to go, not our money. We weren't married when you were in college.
Not our money.
Your money.
Me and our friends' money.
Oh, okay.
So when I was a freshman, I hated eating in the cafeteria. It just was gross to me. It kind of made my stomach hurt just to go in there. And so I called mom, and I'd spent all my money on food. Like,
oh, I'm sure.
Because I just didn't want to
eat out.
Yeah. And so I called her. I was like, hey, mom, I really don't like the cafeteria. Can you please send me some money? I had like 2 weeks left before I came home. And she was like, here's what I'll do. She's like, I'll send you $10. You can buy a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter to last you 2 weeks. And that's what she did. And so if I ran out, I was going back to the cafeteria. I had no money. I could barely get home on the last day, get gas in the car. And she told me that. And then later on, when I lived on my own for a bit, and I guess a bit of rebellion. I don't know why I did it.
Zach's a bit rebellious.
But I lived on my own for a bit. And
I was a good girl.
We were so broke that we would...
and again, this is
me and my friend.
Him and his friends.
We would live on quesadillas. So we would just go buy like these massive packs of tortillas and these massive packs of cheese. And we ate quesadillas like, we didn't eat that often, but like at least twice a day.
Yeah.
We were having quesadillas or like $1 bean burrito from the Taco Bell on
We
campus.
were just talking about this because like my parents were so the opposite. I guess they just... Like I said, I think that when you marry someone, you are marrying their experiences, their backgrounds, and you have to find some kind of middle ground, which I think is what we've tried to do. Like your mom was that way, like, oh, well, here's $10, go get peanut butter, good luck. I was like, my parents were so the opposite. They wanted me to have a great freshman experience. So like I would go, so back then you didn't have like unlimited data. And so like I would go over my texting and social media and internet data like every single month, and she would just pay the cost and not tell me. And then she'd go like sneak money into my account because we had
Oh, poor you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I didn't learn that eventually if you keep swiping and don't have an income, like I was like, not that I didn't know that, but I never got to fail. I never got to mess up because they were there. And I'm so thankful, that they were and that they gave me that experience. But later I was like, you could have just told me. Like, you could have said, hey, Montana, quit using your phone. Yeah. Like, you're using over your data. Like, oh, okay. Like, I just didn't know because they sheltered me from it. And so now that we have Hassan, I was like, we're not financially able to shelter Hassan. And again, I don't think it'll benefit Hassan in the future. So again, I don't think that I would send him $10 for a bread and a jar of peanut butter either. I would do a little bit more because that's my baby. I was like, so finding a common ground in the middle is kind of what we've always tried to do with our finances.
I probably wouldn't even send him the $10.
Oh, no, I would tell him go eat the meal plan that we already pay for.
Yeah, because
it ain't cheap.
It's so funny. The first bill I ever took on that was like an adult bill or whatever was I got a phone on my own because my dad called me one day and did
I was in the car.
Opposite of you. And he was like, you've gone over on text. You've gone over on this. It's like, I'm done with this. And was like mad. Just like giving my upgrade to somebody else in my family.
Oh, yeah. He gave your upgrade to your brother. And then you're like, well, I'll just take another phone plan. Your dad's like, okay. And then
it turned it off.
I was like, what just happened? I was like, my parents would never kick me off the phone plan.
But not only did he just hang up, he literally like switched to the app and killed it. And it was done. So I drove to AT&T or Verizon or wherever and got
to be fair,
phone.
you were a very hard child.
I was like 21 or 20.
I think you were 20
when that happened. I wasn't really a kid
but
anymore.
I mean, they may have had all this pent up energy from when you lived in their house. I don't blame them.
Yeah,
for how hard they were on you.
Yeah,
you needed it.
No, I was probably 19. I was young when that happened because
I know we were dating. Yeah, so you had to be almost.
I bought
you were 20.
First car before we got out of college.
Yeah.
And then we bought our house right before I graduated.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you bought a house. Yeah, you bought the car, and then my parents bought the last car for me before we got married. Yeah, it is weird to buy things before you get, like, when you're engaged and you're about to get married, but yet you're still
Like you weren't
like
on our
like
first house because we weren't married.
yeah, I wasn't on the house because we bought it before we got you bought it before we got married. Well, I did.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we did pay for it. But yeah, so I just remember like you went and bought the car. I think we were engaged when we bought I think we were engaged maybe when you bought your first car by yourself and you took your mom. And then I was like, well, now I'm going to be like paying that car payment with him. So then the next car that my parents bought before we got married too, I can't take Zach with me. You know, it's just a weird area because like you're going to join your money, but yet you're not there yet. So it's just, I don't know. That was a weird time in our life.
I don't know why I took my mom. She never did, like. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not saying you would have taken me. I would be awful at car dealerships. I still am. I'm like, that one's pretty. What's it cost?
Yeah, cars are like a kryptonite to me.
Yeah, like I said, we're not the best examples of money, and especially when it comes to vehicles.
Yeah, cars are the kryptonite. I don't.
We were really bad.
I don't really make purchases that I necessarily regret.
Except with vehicles.
Outside of cars. Yeah, cars are.
Yeah, I think we've had like
a bunch.
7 cars in the 9 years we've been married.
It's not been good.
No, like I said, don't follow our example.
Yeah, the ratio on that, if you're doing any math at home, it's not good.
No, and we still pay for those ungood choices.
Yeah, I'm still paying for a white Altima I never wanted.
Anyways, we both have the car we want now. We just pay for them.
We just pay the punishment on it. But yeah, I think money's tricky. I think a couple of things just to pay attention to if I was to wrap it in a bow and a lesson. I think one, communication, understanding the expectations of your spouse is important. Whether or not that you have the best plan in place, but at least communicating.
And also talking about, your past experiences with money. Because like I said, our parents treated money very differently with both of us. And so that could skew how we, view money and how we view spending and saving and things like that. So having that conversation, especially if you're newly married, is really good. At marriage counseling, I know that that's one thing they discuss in our marriage counseling at church. They do like the 6 weeks, so that's always a good one. Just to go in having all the information, it helps the communication.
Yeah, and then too, I think if you have kids who are old enough to start making their own money, first off, let them go make their own money. Like I think Hassan has grown so much because he has had jobs and because he has had to deal with bosses, and it wasn't
good
always
bosses, bad bosses.
Yeah.
And he's also got to see, the I should want to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though it's a minimum wage job, I should want to do my best and be my best. And he was a shining star at all of his jobs. They all told us that. I was like, even the ones that fired him, would say that. I was like, but, it helped him see that even if you're at, a fast food job, a minimum wage job, I was like, you should still strive to be your best at everything you do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it gives you, like, you earned it. Like, I don't feel like when somebody hands me money, like if I just get a present, like it's gone. You can just bet that farm, it's gone.
They have no appreciation. I mean, they have some appreciation for it, but I was like, not as if they earned it. I was like, because like I said, we handle Hassan's finances. He does not get the full percentage of his check. I was like, because again, I want you to start out budgeting small money before I give you big money, and so we still budget that. I was like, but that 20% that he gets to keep of his check, he's very coveted of, because he earned it, because he worked hard for it, and the job has not always been fun. It's not always been easy, and so he knows how difficult it is to have a job.
Yeah, and he respects what it means to make a dollar.
Yeah, he's also, like I said, he's got to lose a job. He's got to quit a job and realize that money's just not always going to be there.
Yeah.
And that's why you shouldn't worship it. You shouldn't rely on it, because at a drop of a hat, everything can change.
Yep. And so I think having conversations with your kid, giving the opportunity to earn money. I'm thankful my parents didn't make me work, but gave me the opportunities to work.
Yeah.
And I got to do that at a young age and got to manage and learn how to manage my money early. And so I think now it's paid off, because when I look around, I'm like, if I got to pay all the bills, or what my portion of them, it's like I can't not have that money. And I know what it takes to earn what we make and stuff like that. And I think that's something you learn at a younger age than you think you do. And so I don't think I think it's a disservice to your kids if you're not allowing them to make their own money and also helping guide them and teach them.
Yeah, also because You got to think if the first time that they go out and make their own money is when all the responsibility is on them. No one's helping them decide what do you spend your money on, how do you save. I was like, I mean, that's hard. I was like,
Yeah,
it's
it
hard
is.
for people who even, like I said, had jobs. It was still difficult. So I would rather Hassan go through all of that trial and error under a protected, like our protection, than just when he's 21 years old, graduated college, got his first job, and he's in an apartment like, oh, what do I do with all the money?
I remember getting that first check and be like, I have so much money.
Oh, I know. I worked. My first job was after my senior year of high school, and I worked at a day camp, and I got a check for like 2 weeks for $500. I was like, oh my god, that's like 2 pair of Uggs right here. I didn't get to go buy the Uggs. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much. And that was the way
That's a
Hassan
lot.
felt when he was like, oh my gosh, there's so much money, and he had all these things he wanted to buy, and I was like, all right, well, let's take all that out for bills. And he was like, oh, like, here's what you got. Here's your 20%. So,
It's true. Yeah.
and he makes it stretch for 2 weeks. He makes that $50 stretch really far.
I don't know if it's necessarily that we make more money now, but I think a testament to the cost is I remember that first check and thinking how big it was and how far it actually went and how much we were able to actually do with that amount. And now I look at like our expenses. I'm like, we wouldn't
No. We didn't have like a lot of luxuries, quote unquote, when we got married.
How about
like
zero?
Streaming services were just now popular. So I think we had Netflix was really the only one.
We actually bought cable because that was the adult thing
yes.
to do.
And we got the newspaper, canceled that after 3 months because I'm like, well, honey, why do we have a newspaper subscription? He's like, that's what adults do. And I was like, well, it's just a waste of $12 every month. So we got rid of the paper after 3 months. But yeah, we got all the adult things. We got all the adult things.
To be fair, we lived in kind of a weird like neighborhood / trailer park /
We did not live in the trailer park. It was next door. Anyways, we got to get off here. But yeah, we do not have everything figured out on money. And like I said, getting on the same page, our page probably wouldn't work for no other couple except for us. But also, praying about your finances is an important part. Like we pray about being good stewards of the money given, and we give our 10%, and I feel like that we're generous towards the church and towards helping people. And so I think that God promises that he'll bless what you have. And even though we look at our bank accounts and checking accounts and we're like, there's just not a lot there, I was like, it does seem to go really far, and I still don't know how it works. I was like, Zach used to call it magic money.
I was just about to say that. I used to call it magic money. I said there's no such thing as magic money. Well, I've been corrected a few times. So,
which is what I love about God. He just puts you in your place, because like I said, Zach was a little bit slower to come to tithing, which he's mentioned before. And I was all about tithing. And Zach's like, there's no such thing as magic money. You're not going to give this percentage and suddenly get this much back. And I was like, I don't know how it works. But, I was like, started
to
tithing.
be fair, though, it's never been like we got more.
Oh, no.
Money. It's been other things that have occurred that have allowed what we had to stretch and to work.
Yeah.
But, yeah. This is a survey of finances and a fun conversation that we went through.
And again, no, other than
Dave Ramsey, all the people that you like to hear about your financial stuff, they've got the things to help you get better at it.
But other than praying and communication and like
teaching.
Teaching your children about money, we're not giving advice on how to do your finances other than those 3 things.
I will never give you advice on your finances.
No. God entrusted you with that money.
Yes.
So you talk to him.
You be a good steward of what God gave you, not me.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been the Kids Are in Bed podcast. We are the Rustenbergers. This is Montana, my lovely wife. I don't think I actually introduced her on the front end tonight.
Just got it on the back end.
And I am Zach, and we love getting to have these conversations this time together to just...
And this is really like what we talk about a lot.
It may not always be when the kids are in bed. We really should probably rename it to the conversations we have in the car on the way to get coffee.
Yeah, or when the kids aren't around.
Yeah. Because, but this is actually a conversation we had like Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. And
that all the conversation with our friends we've had in the last like couple weeks. I was like, it just happens.
It does. Anyway, like and subscribe before you get out of here. Comment your favorite thing you've ever purchased. Favorite thing you've ever purchased. Mine is a red WRX.
that he does not have,
that I no longer own.
that he sold.
I now have a black one. And it is not as cool, for just being honest.
Because it's a different color.
And it's a different model. But
Whatever.
anyway,
It's a car.
we will see you next week on the podcast.
Yep.
Good night.